So in a late-night vote, House Republicans on the Homeland Security Committee approved 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. The move now sends the vote to the House floor, where lawmakers can decide the secretary's fate as soon as next week. The committee says Mayorkas, quote, willfully and systemically refused to comply with federal laws over his handling of the border.
It is. This is such a scam. And by the way, when you see some of these legal voices on other networks saying it's a scam, you know, it just gives up the game. Let's bring right now a Democratic member of the House Homeland Security Committee, as well as the Oversight Committee, Congressman Dan Goldman of New York. Congressman Goldman, thank you so much for being here. You know, even if the bill, even if there weren't a bipartisan compromise in the Senate that could move forward and secure the border, this would be a preposterous proceeding to level against Mayorkas. But you add to the fact that there is a solution to the border, according to Republicans, the toughest in 30 years, and Trump and House zealots are stopping it, makes this impeachment just crazy.
It's a double whammy. First of all, it's a completely baseless, lawless insult to the impeachment clause of the Constitution to move forward with these articles of impeachment. There is not a single constitutional law scholar that the Republicans can cite who supports the fact that these allegations rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. But on top of that, they are trying to impeach Secretary Mayorkas for failing to secure the border while he is negotiating a deal in the Senate, a bipartisan deal designed to secure and address the issues at the border. The irony, Joe, is beyond any comprehension. And this border security bill, as far as what we know from it, which is we haven't seen the text, of course, has many, many things that Democrats would oppose. I would oppose a number of the things that I'm hearing in the ordinary course. But the Republicans have previously set it up so that unlocking aid for our democratic allies around the world, Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, is conditioned on a very, very conservative border security bill. President Biden has indicated his willingness to sign something that many of us would not otherwise agree to, and still Donald Trump does not want to pass this bill, and there's only one reason, Joe, which is he does not want to solve the problem. He wants to create a problem so that he can run on it in November.
Yeah. It's good for America, Mike. He doesn't want it.
So, Congressman, let me ask you this. You represent a huge chunk of New York City, so you're familiar with the visibility of this issue. People see this issue, immigration, every single day they walk the streets. We now have, we've reached a stage where a Republican from Oklahoma and a Democrat from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, put together a bill that everybody agrees would be the strongest immigration bill over the last 30, perhaps 40 years. And yet we know why it's going to be stopped. The Speaker of the House just articulated why it's going to be stopped. It's going to be stopped because Donald Trump doesn't want the bill passed because he fears it would be helpful to the Biden re-elect committee. So no new immigration bill. Do you think the White House should be speaking out more on this? And I'm not talking about the press secretary saying something about this bill, but the President of the United States. Would you feel better about the prospects going forward for the Biden administration if the President of the United States named names and named culpability?
Well, look, I think we absolutely have to call this out for what it is, and recognizing that they said the quiet part out loud last week by admitting that it's purely political for why Donald Trump and House Republicans and even some Senate Republicans want to sabotage this bill now. They're now moving the goalposts, saying that Joe Biden doesn't need any extra authorities or law. That is, of course, not at all what they've been saying for this entire Congress. It's not accurate. And And so President Biden, I think, has made some very strong statements in support of the bill, because we all recognize that the situation at the border is untenable. It is not that anyone on the Democratic Party does not want to solve the issues at the border. The question is how to effectively do that. And what President Biden has been suggesting in the supplemental appropriations bill and in other policy changes that he has tried to make but has been sued by Republicans in court is to address the border, streamline the asylum process, get rid of the backlog, and funnel everyone to ports of entry where everyone can be vetted and can be processed properly without staying here for years and years and years. Our asylum process was created for a very important reason, which is that many people are escaping horrific conditions around the world, increasingly horrific conditions, to seek asylum in this country. We are a country of immigrants. It is what we have always been, and we have always welcomed people facing persecution into our country. But we have to be able to get through the asylum process much faster than we are. And so this is a problem. But the fact that President Biden is willing to go so much further than any Democratic president has ever gone before shows you his commitment to addressing the problems facing the American people. And the fact that the Republicans are sabotaging this and trying to undermine it just shows how little they care about solving the problems for the people, and that politics is everything.
All right, Democratic member of the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Dan Goldman, thank you so much. And you can read Congressman's latest op-ed on MSNBC.com.